Thanks. All right, so Kaz and I kind of share a lot of things in common. They're a little rare. We're both ex-lawyers.
X being the important part.
Big law firm lawyers, both ex-entrepreneurs, or I'm still an entrepreneur, but Kaz can tell you his entrepreneurial journey. And we're both like way too active on Twitter.
That's right.
So actually, let me start there, actually. So your whole management team basically is very active on Twitter, which is relatively rare for a large publicly traded company. Is there value on Twitter for the business? And would you recommend the people here who are all basically running their brands on Shopify, should they be using Twitter too?
Yeah, I mean, one of the key differences between Shopify and most management teams is that we're not a professional management team. Like, we're all like ex-founders, and we're all like still kind of kids. So we really honestly value being told we're wrong. Like, we value being wrong so we can learn. Like, the company very deeply has that culture of like trying to find a truth is more important than like looking like an idiot. So Twitter is exceptionally good for that. Just being able to like get feedback really quickly. Now, like, there are things that like blow up every once in a while. I usually cause them, and I'm sure our PR team rather that didn't do it. But we find it valuable for that reason. And second, honestly, Shopify deliberately zigs when most companies zag, and just it's important for us to not appear like a big company.
Got it. And like you're now using it in sort of a lobbying capacity on AI in Canada. Has that been effective?
I mean, no, because just the politicians who pass these laws are exceptionally stupid, and it's just very hard to like reason. It's very hard to reason through this, right? Like, the same people who want to ban encryption are the same people who want to ban AI, and they just fundamentally don't these are people who would have wanted to ban cars and books and the Gutenberg press.
Electricity back in the day.
It's the same people. It's just like, it's a petition of the candle makers against the sun.
Exactly. Like, well, yeah, like there's this great quote about like if electricity had been invented today, it never would have been allowed because, people got burned.
Yeah.
The candle makers would still be in business. So let's talk about your first project. So you both run the company as COO and VP of product. Your first product that you built and were responsible for was ShopPay, which has been incredibly effective, I'm sure, for everybody here in lifting conversion. Can you talk about the benefits of ShopPay?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like beyond debate at this point because we had one of the big 3 consulting firms. I'm not allowed to say which one, but there's only 3 of them. You can guess which one it is. We had one of them compare conversion of Shopify's checkout with ShopPay against Salesforce, BigCommerce, Magento, WooCommerce, and custom checkouts. And it showed on average at the last step of the funnel, Shopify converted 15% better than on average and 36% better than Salesforce. This is down funnel, last step of the checkout. I want to click buy. And if you're like in D2C, the thing you're optimizing for always is CAC, right? You optimize your ads to get just a little bit like higher ROAS. You optimize your funnel, like you optimize everything. And that's what ShopPay is designed to do, right? ShopPay is designed to bring the remembered, logged in, I trust this brand experience to everyone else. And it works like amazingly well.
So let's talk about the other features. So like you have a vast array of products that many people don't even know, or many people aren't widely aware of. We're talking about fixed CAC. So you started with CAC. So let's talk about the products you have. If people want to grow their business and fix their CAC, what should they do?
I think this is an area of Shopify that's least appreciated is the new products we brought to market to help merchants in the post like iOS changes world to fix their CAC. There's 2 we have in the market now, and one is exclusively available to Plus merchants. The other one is more broadly available, and we're going to launch more. So Audiences is available to Plus merchants. It's our product that allows you to get high, medium, and low intent buyers using Shopify's data rather than your own. We're seeing like insane ROAS improvements, like just nutty. There are merchants that are seeing like literally 2x improvement in ROAS on the first attempt. Now, like all other ads products, it requires fine tuning and merchants need to work on it. The second one is Shop Cash offers, which is you give us a price for which you want to acquire a buyer. We will deliver you that buyer at that price. Like, if you want a CAC of $50, we'll bring you all the buyers we can find for $50. And like that doesn't exist in D2C. Like, it's bringing app installs to D2C, and we take the risk. Like, we take the risk. We will front the money. We'll spend it. And I think they're like now. I think the cat's a little bit out of the bag on it because like the number of people who are using it is just growing rapidly. But if you're not using, if you're on Plus and you're not using audiences, like you just are making an objective mistake. And if fixed CAC works for your business, you must use Shop Cash Offers.
And is Shop Cash Offers open to anybody?
Yeah, it's open to anyone who has Shop Pay.
Great, cool. We should be using that.
Most of our ads products are only available if you use Shop Pay because we don't want to risk our own money in a world in which you don't want to help your conversion.
Sure. That makes sense. What do you think thematically? So, what are the goals for Shop over the next, let's say, from a product perspective, over the next year?
Yeah, I mean, there's like 3 broad bets we've had. So we now launch products twice a year. We call them editions. We've launched 100 products at each edition, so we're at 300 over the last 3. The themes have kind of been this. The first one was like connect to customers, like creating a set of products that help you fix CAC and LTV. So the largest set of those was actually improvements in down funnel conversion on checkout and retargeting using like some of our retargeting tools. Including Shopify email, which is becoming very, very good. So that was one first set. And we have a bunch of bets in that area broadly. I think those tools are still massively, both our CAC tools and LTV use tools.
What about Shop Capital?
Yeah, the second set was the product was about funding your business. So Shopify Capital is, we have multiple products in it, but we now will give you between $400 and $5 million, pick where you are, and we'll just fund it. It's really good for funding 2 things, inventory and ads. And in a world in which equity checks are becoming very expensive, this is a no-recourse way of funding your business for most merchants. And it works really well. Almost everyone who runs a Shopify store has an offer. You may not know you have it, but almost everyone has one. My mom uses it. She's a Shopify merchant. And the third set have been like tools designed to automate your business, so you need fewer people. So Shopify Flow, which is available to everyone, some of the functions we've built, some of the checkout extensions, customer extensions, and those are essentially like the design so you can run a Shopify store with fewer people than you would need off Shopify.
Awesome. Well, do you have a feel for the delta, like how many people you save?
I mean, it's hard to imagine it, but if you think of like workflows, like imagine, let me give you a typical example. When you get to a certain size, you just need someone to deal with refunds. You just need someone. That's how it works. Like with Flow, you can push that out so much because the things you do twice, Flow will just take care of. Check against the following SKUs, offer the following refund, send the following message in this order at this time. It's like automation of tasks, right? So like it's just about delaying those things. So maybe instead of having 2 people to deal with refunds at $50 million in GMV, you only need 1 type of situation.
Great. We recently announced, you announced a partnership with a company I'm very involved in at Fair. Mm-hmm. What are the benefits to brand owners?
Yeah, Fair is really special. They have created this wonderful B2B marketplace that kind of reduces the risk of inventory for inventory and SKU finding for merchants. So there's 2 use cases that Fair is very good for. One is, I think my favorite one is actually not their favorite one, but it's absolutely my favorite one. If you have a physical retail location, and if you're running DTC, everyone eventually learns that if you have a physical retail location, your CAC goes down. Like every geography in which you have a physical retail location is like you should be treated almost as a marketing expense because CAC just goes down. And by the way, shipping costs go down because you can now fulfill from the store. So Shopify Point of Sale plus Fair allows you to have endless aisle. Any customer that walks into your store, you can sell anything to, which is just amazing because that's just, it's like it solves a null search problem for physical retail. The second one is, look, everyone knows this. In rising CAC world, AOV becomes the game. Like, you must be able to add to the cart. You just have to. And Fair allows you to do that without having to source a bajillion different things. So if you sell bicycles, every bicycle adjacent, bicycle shorts, everything becomes Fair can take care of for you. And I highly recommend using it. The integration with Shopify is actually so good that it feels almost native. Like, you don't have to worry about it at all. So
awesome. So almost everybody in this room runs a brand that's probably about $1 million to $10 million in sales.
Yeah.
You've had several people build companies that are now public companies on Shop.
Yeah.
How many? Do you know how many?
I know of 5. There may be more.
At least 5.
Yeah.
What are the common denominators of people, let's say, who get to, $100 million of sales? Are there any common things they do that other people using Shopify as a platform don't?
I think there's 3 of them, and I would urge people to be very mindful of this. One is the more tools a company uses, the more it slows down. Like, this is a real thing that happens, and
The more people you hire too, by the way.
People don't appreciate this, but when you hit around $50 million in GMV, you look around, you're like, holy shit, I'm paying for 17, 18 different SaaS tools, all of which are slowing me down. And this is true for a public company. So I would urge you to be very careful. Especially with things that create data silos. Data silos are deadly to businesses. They slow down decision making. So the best companies on Shopify, including the ones that have IPO'd, have a very surprisingly simple stack. A lot of them basically run only on Shopify and Shopify apps. And you get really far, really, really far. There are very large companies that do hundreds of millions of dollars GMV that just basically run on that. Plus, at some point, you end up having an ERP because that's real, but that's one. So don't buy things just because other people have them. And just look at the App Store heavily. Just look at the App Store. The second one tends to be channel management. If you look at a company like Allbirds, which is a great company, or Figs, they care about their channels a lot because so Allbirds doesn't sell in that many places, right? They just don't. Because they've realized that the long-term relationship with the customer matters a lot. So, I would be very careful about channel management. Now, that choice can be very broad or very narrow. Fashion Nova sells on Fashion Nova. You have to go to fashionnova.com to buy Fashion Nova. You can't buy it anywhere else. Same with Allbirds, by the way. Just be aware of that. Now, we have other examples that have gone exactly the other way, but just being aware of what you want to get good at. And third, and this is a choice that I think have all made, they've all decided to be very careful about fulfillment. Fulfillment the expenses get away from you very quickly if you're not careful, very, very quickly. And you either have to decide you want to own it or not. And do you guys own your own fulfillment?
We basically do.
Yeah. And it become the real thing.
Oh yeah, we're getting better and better. It's pretty amazing. We may even turn it into a product at some point.
Yeah, and that's a very hard choice that people make the wrong way because they optimize for a wrong thing. It's the craziest thing because fast is cheap. People don't realize this. In fulfillment, fast is cheap. What's really expensive is slow. So you have to be very careful about how you manage this. Because otherwise conversion just takes a fucking nosedive.
And actually, let me backtrack. Kind of glossed over. So the top 100 people at Shopify. So you run the business very differently, as you pointed out. You zigzag, different philosophy. You have a lot of crazy people running around. How many of the 100 were ex-founders?
Probably more than any other company that you can think of.
I heard it was 33 or so.
It's at least that. Sometimes depends on probably that, because the companies run by founder types. Otherwise, Shopify makes no sense. Shopify makes no sense from the outside in. It appears kind of erratic as a company if you are not a founder. But if you're a founder, you're oh yeah, this makes sense. Like, let me give you a real example of this. This is honest to goodness real example. About a year ago, like just after I took over as COO, every company has a headcount planning process. It's like the law of physics that you must have one. And most companies do it in Excel. And the problem with Excel, by the way, is that if the following change had been made to Excel, the world would be a better place. If every cell had a confidence score in Excel, everything would be fine. But everyone spends all their time building these models in Excel that become nothing like the real world because the confidence score doesn't exist.
This is exactly the debate I have with my entire growth team.
Yeah,
they look at these Excels and they're like, oh, this is a great business. I'm like, oh, no.
No, it's like people spend way too much time calculating and very little time thinking because it's an Excel sheet. Look at that. So what we did was we actually built our own software called Shopify OS. We're a big company. You should not do this. That models headcount in the company. Like we can run a model every hour. Just repeatedly just model headcount over and over and again, and spits out the model thing. This is the following thing. This is the confidence score. So we can live say, if I want to bet on this, what would have to be true across the rest of the company? So it literally moves the company. The machine does it for you. I know that sounds like insane from the outside in.
It's not that insane. That's actually how our demand forecasting tool works in some ways. It's,
No, but
it's actually pretty rational.
Exactly it. We just took what we'd applied in demand forecasting to headcount planning. And that sounds radical from the outside in, because like we don't build HR software, but we built some because most HR software sucks. We don't build a lot of software from the inside out. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned we were just chatting about you built your own software because you do have a remote culture. Talk about like how much of an investment that was to make it work.
Yeah, remote's really hard. It works for us, but we have, I think, a dozen engineers building software just to make remote work. And people don't understand how big an investment that is, because these are very good engineers who could be building products for merchants that we are saying, no, build products for Shopify. Remote is really, really hard. Now, it works for us, but honestly, I talked to other people who are remote, and I'm like, yeah, it's not working for you, man. Like, it's just not working for you. I think, honestly, maybe the only company that I know of that it works for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes a minimum of that level of investment, and then you have a shot. The other thing that was striking to me when I met with your colleagues was how you guys make decisions. So you talk about like how Shopify actually decides things.
Yeah, so most companies have this like, I don't think they think it's bullshit, but it really is, decision-making paradigm of like, every decision is made bottoms up. We want like, they just do that talk. That's just insanely dumb. Because if you look at most companies, they have this thing called delegation of authority, which is like in the board letter that says, if a decision costs X, so-and-so must make it. Which, by the way, is also dumb, right? A VP making a decision that costs $1 million is dumb because most VPs can't. So we have this framework called aim, assemble, achieve, which is very clear on any project who's the aimer. And we're not shy about the company having aimers, right? Like, Toby makes production engineering decisions at Shopify, like basically all of them, and we're not shy about that at all. Now, what this does is it allows people to take more risks because it transfers the risk. When something goes wrong and I'm the aimer on it, I've approved the aim. It's my fault. So, a junior engineer can take insane risks because I underwrote the decision. But that means I knew about it. And we're not, there's a real thing that happens in corporate America where managers get told they need to not be in the details, which is just cancer, right? Because, like, God is in the details. Like, every decision, the details matter, like, more than anything else. So at Shopify, we frequently, we show code in a lot of product reviews. And I'm telling you, most companies don't. Most companies' product reviews are about strategy, but that doesn't end up not mattering most of the time.
And what about the other thing I remember when I was speaking with you to the leadership team was about when you want to get something done, go find a founder. So you really have an organizational chart, it seems?
No, it's like I literally just wrote out the whole company again. I write about once a year called Ignore the Org Chart.
Great. Well, thank you all. Thank you for joining us and coming all the way out here.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.